Hello and welcome everyone. This is Zishan, your next door agile coach. And today in this video, we will discuss how to excel as a Scrum Master. So if you want to switch your role to a Scrum Master, or you're already working as a Scrum Master and want to be more effective at it, this video would probably be beneficial for you. So let's go ahead and look what are the different things that you probably should do or shouldn't do if you want to be an effective Scrum Master. Starting for the first, if you are working as a Scrum Master or want to excel as a Scrum Master, it is extremely important that you acquire the required knowledge in order to be more effective at it, in order to teach your teams what the best practices are. So acquire those knowledge. Start with the Agile Manifesto. It's a small document, 4 values, 12 principles. Read the 4 values and 12 principles. Read it and understand it, and also understand the underlying notions, what those 4 values and 12 principles are trying to say. Understand those stuff, and when you understand those values and principles, try to make sure that you incorporate those in your real life at work. See of how you can embrace those values and principles in something that you are doing at work. Moving ahead from the manifesto, then read the Scrum Guide. If you want to be a Scrum Master, it's important that you know the Scrum Guide by heart. It's a small piece of document, 14, 15 pages, at least in the 2020 version. So read the Scrum Guide, understand the Scrum Guide, read it multiple times until you understand each and every single line of the document, because every single word, every single line in the Scrum Guide is of extreme critical value. So understand the notions, the underlying principles, the underlying context of whatever it is written in the Scrum Guide. And after you have read and understood the Agile Manifesto, the Scrum Guide, don't limit yourself. Read more and more books on Agile, on Kanban, on XP, on other best practices, and try to understand more and more about your field, how things are done, what are the best practices. Only then you would be able to experiment those stuff at work and learn from it. Okay, after acquiring the desired knowledge, the next good things that you would do is probably work on your personal and interpersonal skills. So focus on your individual skills of how you want to grow as a Scrum Master. It is extremely important that to be an effective leader, an effective Scrum Master, you are an effective and excellent listener. So learn the art of listening to people with an unbiased, with an unopinionated, with a calm mind. And when you learn the art of being an effective listener, it's also important that you cultivate more and more empathy within yourself, right inside you. Because without empathy, you will be able to listen to people. You will be able to listen to people with unbiased, non-judgmental, unopinionated minds. But you would never be able to really comprehend them. You'll never be able to understand what is going on inside the minds of the people that you're conversing with. So embrace empathy, cultivate empathy, grow empathy inside you. With the desired level of empathy, you would be an effective listener, and you will be able to empathize with the people that you're talking. You will be able to understand what their genuine problems are, what they're going through. And then probably, yes, you would do better in your role. Again, a Scrum Master is somebody who is an excellent communicator. So if you want to grow as a Scrum Master, it's important that you finesse your communication skills. It is expected that a Scrum Master communicates flawlessly, both inside with his team and with his external stakeholders, with the organization. So uh, just learn those communication skills, learn the art of giving and taking feedbacks, learn the art of how to provide those feedbacks in a constructive manner, learn the art of communicating with the business, with the stakeholders, with the team, with the product managers, product owners. The next thing you would do, and it's very, very critical, it's important that you do not fall in that spiral of feeling redundant. Don't attempt to prove yourself to anybody, right? Don't attempt to make yourself feel valuable, because you are not an active participant in the dev work, in the product development, right? Your job is to support the people to be more successful at what they are doing. You build high performing team, you build good and successful Scrum teams. Your eventual criteria of success is to make yourself redundant. So when your team no longer requires you, it is then you understand that you have been able to be successful as a Scrum Master. So if you get your hands dirty, if you feel that you're being invaluable, you're not doing anything, the developers are developing, the testers are testing, the other people are doing their stuff, but you're not doing anything. This is your job. Your job is to help them be effective at what they are doing. Don't go into that zone of being left out and feeling invaluable and going and coding something with the developers or helping them test something and all those things, right? Because if you do so, you'll be establishing a dependency upon yourself and the team. You'll not be making yourself redundant. Okay. A good Scrum Master is a teacher, he's a mentor, he's a facilitator, he's a coach, he's an advisor for his team. And it is imperative and it is important for you and as an individual to understand when to don what hat. As a Scrum Master, you must understand when the team needs you to be a teacher, when it needs you to be a mentor, when you should be a coach to them, when you should facilitate sessions, discussions, workshops for some outcome. So finesse these skills within you and learn the art of choosing what to be when. As a Scrum Master, your job is to serve people. And you can achieve success only when you genuinely love and enjoy serving and helping people. Because trust me, the spotlight, the limelight would never be upon you. Your job is to make sure that your team stays in the limelight. You work in the background. You're a support structure for your team. You provide everything to your team in order to them to be successful. So you should genuinely love doing it. Only then you could be effective and successful at it. Again, if you're helping your team achieve success and you're working in the background and nobody sees you, it's human that sometimes your imposter syndrome would kick off. And when your imposter syndrome kicks off, uh, it's logical that you go into that zone of feeling not wanted, feeling that probably you don't know anything, feeling that probably you're not credible enough to do anything. And then what happens? You get an instinct to go and do something actively, go do and code and do perform code reviews and do testing and all sorts of stuff. It is human. When your imposter syndrome kicks off, learn to curb it. Your job is to help people. Your job is to build self-organized teams and make yourself redundant. So learn to curb your imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is something that is human. Everybody has it, but an effective Scrum Master has the skills to curb his imposter syndrome, not let his imposter syndrome empower him. After you've worked on your interpersonal skills and your skills as an individual, it's important that you create the right culture and behavior inside your Scrum team. So, the first thing, foster a culture of experimentation. Your team must know how to work in an empirical process control way, right? Your team must know that the future is VUCA, the future is volatile, the future is unclear, it's uncertain. Only, because of which they are working in Agile, right? So your team must embrace a culture of learning by doing something, running experiments, running learnings, running experiments, learning from it, from those experiments, and then doing it better again and again. So embrace this culture, make sure that this culture exists in your team, do everything possible to dwell this culture. And when you're trying to establish a culture of experimentation, learning by experimentation, it's important that you provide that psychological safety to your team. A culture of psychological safety exists in the team. Your team must know that it is safe to fail. It is safe to run experiment and fail. Nobody would question it. Learn from your failures and then do it better the next time. Your team must know it's safe to question the status quo. It is safe to voice their opinions. It is safe to hold each other accountable into the greater goal of the team and the product. The next thing, as a Scrum Master, never impose something on your team. If there is a decision that needs to be taken, a decision that impacts the team, a decision that has something to do with your team, make sure that you involve your team into it. Make sure that you have a culture wherein decisions are taken bottom up, a culture of decentralized decision making, holacracy as it is called. Then make sure that your team stays motivated. There is uh, motivation inside the team to continuously improve in what they are doing, because a successful team never goes complacent, never reaches a zone wherein they feel they have reached the peak of high performance. Because agility, high performance, it is all a journey. It's not a destination, it's not a goal to be reached, right? It's a journey. You do it better and better and better. And successful teams, they strive to continuously improve themselves over time. Uh, we talked about your job as a Scrum Master, your eventual success criteria is to make yourself redundant. When you do it, it's important how you do it. It's important that you help your team learn the art of self organization. You help your team be more self organized, learn how to remove impediments, learn how to work around impediments, learn how to resolve problems on its own. There would be some issues which would be beyond the realm of their self-organizing capabilities. So providing a solution to them would, again, sometimes your role as a Scrum Master would be required. But most of the daily software development or product development problems can be resolved by a self-organized team. So it's important that you teach your team the art of self-organization, what impediments are, how to remove it, whom to talk, what is the communication style, how to reach out to people, how to collaborate flawlessly. Teach them. Also teach them how to handle conflicts, because conflicts is natural in any workplace. As long as you're working with people, conflicts would be there. However, successful teams then know how to resolve conflicts on their own. And if they're not able to resolve, then know how to navigate around their personal conflicts and work towards a greater goal, a team goal, a product goal. So help your team learn how to resolve and navigate around personal conflicts. Sometimes, as a Scrum Master, you must do nothing. Just sit down and observe your team of what they're doing, how they are doing. Observe your teams in team sessions, in team events, and then provide feedback on how they can improve themselves. As a Scrum Master, I have seen multiple Scrum Masters dictating best practices to the teams, saying that Scrum doesn't say it. You must do this because Agile says so. You must do this because this is how it needs to be done. This is how Scrum prescribes. Uh, Trust me, Scrum doesn't prescribe anything. It's a framework. So do not dictate anything to your team. The real world, it's not black and white. Most of the solutions of the problems of the real world lie in the gray zone. So it's important that you foster a culture of experimentation and not dictate to your teams. Let them choose and do something, fail at it, learn from it, and then do do it better the next time. Do something else, whatever works for them. Next thing, you must be very confident in your abilities. You must have the courage to question the status quo. You must have the courage to say no to things that somebody should say no to. You must have the courage if you see something that you feel isn't working, you feel that something needs to change, you must have the courage to question it, whether it is inside the team, whether it is with uh, outside the team, in the rest of the organization, whether it is something that needs to change in how the stakeholders or the larger organization operates. Have that courage to voice your opinion. Have the courage to question everything of why something is being done in a particular way. Also, the role says Scrum Master, Master of Scrum, but do not limit yourself only to Scrum. Sometimes the solutions to the real world problems lie beyond the real realm of Scrum. So embrace other best practices, the essence from Kanban, essence from lean software development, essence from XP, Kaizen, anything, right? Be open, embrace the best practices. Scrum is a loosely coupled framework. You could incorporate the best bits and pieces of best practices from elsewhere. In fact, most of the best practices around user stories, around estimations, around how user stories should be written, around design thinking, everything in Scrum, it is from somewhere else, right? From XP, from design thinking, from business agility, everywhere else, right? So do not stick only with Scrum. Embrace more and more best practices. Learn and be open. The last thing, when you are teaching your team to be self-organized, when you're making yourself redundant, as in your team matures, you take a step back. It matures further, you take a step back further. But in doing so, always make sure that you are always reachable and available to your teams when they need you. Because you don't know when your teams might hit a blocker, might get to a point that they hit an impediment, resolution of which lies beyond their abilities as a self-organized team, and they need you as a scrum master. So be available in those kind of scenarios. Okay, so these were our 20 things that you could do as a scrum master in order to be more successful and more effective at being a scrum master. Okay, so I've tried to classify. There's a couple of things, 4 quadrants essentially. Work on educating yourself, acquiring the knowledge that is required to be a good Scrum Master. Work on your individual and interpersonal skills. Try to create the right team behaviors and right culture, and a couple of other tips that I couldn't put in, but some tips and tricks to be an effective Scrum Master. Okay, thank you everyone for listening to me. I hope this video was of value to you. Goodbye until we meet next time on another topic. Thank you, everyone.